I'm Kevin Davis, and this is the Catholic Family Podcast. And well, most of you know, those of you who followed this channel for any sort of time, know that I am in Germany. I live in the Alps and in a little tiny town, which honestly hasn't seen too much of a problem regarding immigration. Now, we've seen some people from Ukraine. I've met some of them, and honestly, I don't have a problem with them generally. Most of them are women here, again, in our tiny town of Reitenwinkel. And you can listen to other shows to hear my explanation of my feelings on that. But I think that if you're fleeing war and if it's actual war, then okay, there is something to that. But the issue that we've had in Europe for the last 10 years now is an absolute crisis of immigration. And that was started by Angela Merkel back really pretty much right when I moved here. I moved here in the spring of 2016 now, I think it was 2016. So 8 years now, almost exactly. I came here in May 2016. And I remember it must have been just before that they started to let in all of these immigrants. And immigrants is a very loose term. And before I left, I was approached by a member of the clergy who I respect extremely highly. I mean, I really could not respect more than I do. And he told me that he thought maybe it was a bad idea to go to Germany. And I said, okay, why do you think that? I mean, I have a girl over there that I'm going to go and try to woo and marry. And well, here I am. I did it. And he said that he thought that because of the immigration issues and the safety issues due to them allowing in millions of I don't want to say jihadists, but of Islamist immigrants. And this has been going on for years and nigh on a decade now. And there's so many different ideas of why it happened, why they allowed it to happen. Why did Europe let in people without any form of identification, any without any idea, really just no idea. They had no idea what they were doing. They didn't know why, they didn't know how. And we're 8 years along, plus almost 10, and they still don't know how. And I can tell you that living here, they don't know how. They don't know how to support these people. These people still don't have jobs. Many of them, not all of them, not all of them, many of them. These people came here on a dream. Many of them, some probably came here for terrorism. Many just came because they thought, hey, I can come and play soccer, or I can have a phone for free. I talked to a girl here firsthand, and I asked her why she's here. She's from Ukraine, and she said, "Well, because my apartment's paid for, and I don't have to pay for that, so I can save up money." Pooh. Okay, so that's great. So my taxes, my money, then is paying for you to save up money. Not exactly how I would imagine, the perfect world to be, I suppose. Anyway, this video I actually want to talk about a video by Viktor Orban. Now, he is the Prime Minister of Hungary. He has been since 2010. He's very conservative, I suppose. He's very controversial in Europe. Just saying his name just might get this video banned, which shows you the incredible nature of our world and of Europe, German uh, YouTube especially. He is the prime minister of a country here in Europe, right next to us. Really, I mean, I've biked there. I did a big bike trip from Vienna to Budapest. Um, I'll tell you that some other time if you want to hear it. But Viktor Orban had something to say on the matter, and this is really interesting because his point is, you hear all these theories, or people saying, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist if you think that the whole immigration crisis was planned." Well, here is what Viktor Orban thinks on the matter. And Viktor Orban, again, you don't have to believe him, you don't have to like him. He is the prime minister of Hungary. That's no small thing. I'm not saying he's even right, but let's see what he has to say on the matter of immigration. This is taken from X or Twitter. I don't know who this person is on Twitter. Combate, uphold reality. Again, I certainly don't know them, don't support anything else they share. It's just this video from Viktor Orban. So 2.5 minutes. Let's listen.
I do remember how Mr. George Soros published his plan in English in a Project Syndicate publication. It was done 2015, September 26th. And he published a plan. He said that he is my, I'm quoting, here are the 6 components of my comprehensive plan. I just quote 2 or 3 points of that. First is, he said very clearly, 2015, that, quoting again, EU has to accept at least 1 million asylum seekers annually. That was the first point. Second, he said, adequate financing is critical. And he proposed to issue long-term euro bonds for financing the migration crisis and the migrants' social and welfare taking care when they arrive to the European Union. And another point which is very important for Hungary, which is involving the territory of Hungary directly into this program, he said that, quoting them, safe channels must be established for asylum seekers, starting with getting them from Greece and Italy to their destination countries, which means to bring them to Greece, to Hungary, and then have them to go to Austria. So don't forget that what we are speaking about is not an accidental stories, not a bulk of 10 years of accidental stories. It's a plan which is going on. It was written, it was published, it's known. So we are fighting again an organized gang called Empire of George Soros, and NGOs, who are just supporting everybody who is transgressing our legal system and our regulation, and financing illegal activity against our nation. So this is why the story is not just about migration, but it's about how this European Union is working and how George Soros was able to captive the main positions inside many institutions of European Union, buying out MPs and other leaders, and in order to execute the plan which is written, and it's against all the Christian and nation-based political forces. It's against us. It's about how to change Europe and how to eliminate and push aside all the Christian, conservative, national-based political leaders and voters from the European Union decision-making bodies. So this is the migration about, not just about migration. Sorry for.
Wow. I mean, really, it just blows me away. He lays it out. I mean, these things are open. They're known. They're out there for us to discover. Again, I'm sure, as you said, this is published. Go look it up. Look at what George Soros has to say about immigration in Europe. I'm sure you can find it. It's incredible. It's just incredible that they. I wonder why that is. I wonder if there's some reason why the devil or the bad guys, whatever, have to announce what they're doing. Doesn't that seem strange? Doesn't it seem strange that they almost have to tell us? It's like this. Maybe it's just this overabundance of arrogance that the devil and the evil people have in the world. George Soros is, they can't just do evil. They can't just plan evil. They can't just ruin the world. They have to tell us beforehand. They have to say, hey, by the way, we're going to allow in millions of immigrants to ruin the culture, the economics, and the society of Europe. And we're going to tell you about it beforehand. It's unbelievable. I mean, how do they get away with this type of stuff? And it's something that you've seen. I mean, I used to live in a little town outside of Munich, and in this town, okay, I lived in a really little town, and at the time, my wife, then my girlfriend, lived in a different town. Obviously, we didn't live together. She lived in another town that was a little bigger, and she lived just 100 yards, maybe 300 yards. I don't know, not too far away, stone's throw away from a big, I don't even know what you call it, big uh, pop-up camp for immigrants, male immigrants, by the way, because they separated them by sex. So they put the men in one place and the women in another. Generally, I don't know if that's always the case. And again, this was back in 2016, so this was way before COVID, etc. This was during the crisis, and so they the crisis. And they were in this big hall of sorts and just separated by rooms. I suppose of course I never went in there. Nobody really knew what was going on there because they didn't want to go in. Didn't want to get killed. And this was literally a stone's throw away from where my wife, my girlfriend at the time, was living. And she was living with an old lady who was about 90. Just think about that for a second. The government put, and this was all over Germany, all over Europe. They put these mostly male immigrants in these tents, these massive Quonset hut tents, by the hundreds, by the dozens for sure, with nothing to do, no work, no tasks. They gave them a phone, they gave them clothes, they gave them a little bit of money, and nothing to do. Now, I'm just going to let you decide what you think they did with it. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think would happen with a group of men, only men, stuck together in little tiny cubicles with nothing to do all day? Great recipe, right? Yeah, and so again, you wonder, okay, yeah, there's no way Angela Merkel would have planned this, right? She's not a horrible person. Well, isn't that the question? Isn't that the question? Why? They did it. They did it. This is now we know what they've done. We know now that George Soros wrote that they should allow in 1 million immigrants a year. I think it's been more than that. They've surpassed George Soros's plans. Wow, good for them. So why? Why did they do it? And it's something that we've talked about here in Germany, and I imagine people in the US have talked about it as well. Why do it? And I think it can only be two things. It can either be, or maybe three, I suppose. They're stupid, they're evil, or they're both. I think oftentimes it's both. I think in America you see that very clearly right now. I think Germany was evil. I don't think Angela Merkel was stupid. I don't. I don't like her, but she's not stupid. She's not a dumb woman. And so when you look at what they did to this country, which will ultimately be irreversible, almost surely, unless God intervenes, which I hope he does, of course. You're looking at a culture that has survived for 1,000 years, that fought against the very peoples that have now been allowed to flood into the country, gave their blood for hundreds of years to fight against Islam, against the ideologies of Islam. It's the truth. And YouTube, you can ban me if you want. It's the case. Europe has done it for hundreds of years. And now, all of a sudden, European rulers say, nah, let them all in. Especially the young men. Let them in. Let's put them in a tent down the street. No, we don't need extra protection for our women. Just what would they do? They're just extremists. That's fine. They're extremists who hate women and Christianity and our society and everything we stand for, and want to kill us. But that's fine. It's fine. No problem. Well, Viktor Orban, there are definitely times, and I can tell you this very sincerely, I have considered moving to Hungary or back to the US, because even in the US, there's a little bit of sense back in the backwoods of Alabama or Texas, maybe Iowa. Every person has a gun, and they can say, ain't no Islamist camp being set up down the street. I appreciate that because, well, here in Germany, nobody stood up. And it's something that, unfortunately, really, truly, tragically, terribly tragically, will likely lead to the fall of Germanic society. Likely to lead to the fall of European Western civilization. And I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I hope I'm wrong. I very much hope I'm wrong. And I do think that some places like here in Wright and Winkel, it's fine. You go to Munich for a day, go to Frankfurt for a day, go to Stuttgart for a day, Berlin. You won't have much hope for Western society in Germany. God help us all. God bless you.